And how do you feel about collaborating with the enemy when they have carried out such atrocities against UK military personnel over the years?
I think you have to be very careful using the word enemy. I think people need to understand who the Taliban actually are. And of course, what they are a disparate collection of tribespeople. As President Karzai put it to me only yesterday, they're country boys. And the plain fact is that they happen to live by a code of honour and a standard, which has been their standard for many, many years. It's called Pashtun-Wali. It has honour at the heart of what they do. They are bound together by a common purpose, which is they don't like corrupt governance. They don't like governance that is self-serving. And they want an Afghanistan that is inclusive for all. So I think rather than talking
Except
about...
women.
What?
Except women.
Well, again, I think we have to wait and see. I mean, I don't know what they mean.
We can't support the way that they treat women, surely.
Well, I think you have to listen to what they're saying at the moment, and I think you have to listen to the facts on the ground.
They're saying they are definitely, law.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's anything that you and I would approve of particularly.
I'm just clarifying that.
Absolutely, but I do think that they have changed. I think they recognise that over the course of the last 20 years, Afghanistan has evolved. They recognise the fundamental role that women have played in that evolution. And yes, they, at the moment, will undoubtedly say that they want to respect women's rights under Islamic law, and that will be a Sharia law. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't allow them to be involved in government and in education and in medicine and those things that they need them to be involved in. So I think we have to be patient. We have to give them the space to show how they are going to step up to the plate. And whether or not we can work with them will very much depend upon how they treat all Afghans.
I want to take this opportunity to speak to our brothers, the Taliban. We call on you to ensure the safe and secure passage of any individual in Afghanistan out of the country.
Does the U.S. military consider the Taliban an enemy?
We're our focus right now. The thing we're working against right now is time and space, and we want to get as many people out of Kabul as we can in as little amount of time as we can. There are no hostile interactions right now between American forces and the Taliban, and we want to keep it that way.
China anticipates that the Afghan Taliban and various factions in the country will establish an open and inclusive regime structure through dialogue and consultation, implement moderate and stable domestic and foreign policies, and effectively protect the safety of foreign institutions and personnel in Afghanistan. As a friendly neighbor and sincere friend of Afghanistan, China has always pursued a friendly policy in relations to all the Afghan people. Since the past, in the present, or in the future, this policy will not change. China will continue to support Afghanistan's peaceful reconstruction and, within its capacity, contribute to the Afghan economy and provide assistance for social development. We also expect the Taliban will resolutely crack down on all kinds of terrorist forces, including the East Turkestan Islamic movement, and fulfilled their promise not to allow any forces to use Afghanistan's territory to threaten the security of neighboring countries.
Esas imágenes que hemos visto, terribles. Estados Unidos se retira de Afganistán y deja un país en guerra civil. 20 años después, habían dicho que habían construido un ejército de 300.000 soldados con las mejores armas del mundo. Mentira. Hace 6 días la inteligencia de Estados Unidos dijo que para que los talibanes tomaran Kabul iban a pasar 90 días. Una de dos, o están bien desinformados de un país que tienen intervenido como Afganistán, bien desinformado, lo cual dice mucho de la decadencia del imperio estadounidense, o alguien dentro del aparato de inteligencia de Estados Unidos está conspirando para malponer y dañar a Joe Biden. Con la experiencia que tenemos, lo digo, alguien en el aparato de Estados Unidos de inteligencia dio recomendaciones para hundir a Joe Biden. Porque ustedes pueden ver los llamados de la derecha estadounidense y de Trump ayer a la renuncia del presidente Biden. Comienza a desarrollar una estrategia golpista que nosotros conocemos aquí en Venezuela. las imágenes de verdad de la situación de caos, descomposición, destrucción de Afganistán en que dejó Estados Unidos después de 20 años son patéticas.
Is the panic, the lack of clear information. The rumor mill is in overdrive. There's hysteria. You have Taliban fighters with whips, with guns. You have U.S. and U.K. soldiers who are not allowing people in. You have mixed messaging coming through about what kind of paperwork you need and how you can get on a flight and where you can go. I mean, it is just an absolute mess. And we heard President Biden say yesterday in his comments to ABC News that this is not a failure. And I think a lot of people outside that airport, particularly those taking the kinds of extreme actions we're just talking about, would like to know, if this isn't failure, what does failure look like exactly?
Will U.S. troops stay until everyone is out, or will they leave?
So I'm not going to comment on hypotheticals. What I'm going to do is stay focused on the task at hand, which is getting as many people out as rapidly as possible, and we will take that day by day.
So you can't commit to bringing back every American.
There's a large number. That wasn't a hypothetical. That was a question. Can't commit to taking out our own citizens? This is a bit of a new policy for America. We've always protected our own citizens.
Yeah, I mean, that has always been the case. But interesting to hear. I was looking at the same clips earlier today. You know, they're trying to stay committed to their timeline, which of course means nothing now with all that's happened there and this just debacle of a pullout. I mean, as we talked about the other day, you literally couldn't have scripted a worse ending to this war. And now they're saying, well, I mean, maybe we'll get to you. Maybe we won't. We want to leave by the 31st. It makes no sense. It's a disaster. And they know that the American people see it as a disaster. And watching them try and work their way out of it is as comical as it can be in such a dire situation.
Most of America right now, I would venture to say 95% of this country plus believes the Taliban are right on the cusp of taking over all of Afghanistan, and there's not an opposing force at all. Drew, inform people about the situation on the ground.
So that's not true at all. It's basically, you know, history does a circle all the time. And that's what we're seeing here. You know, back before we invaded, the Northern Alliance was pushing back against the Taliban. We supported the Northern Alliance. Before 9/11, you had Ahmad Shah Massoud, who was the leader of that, who was killed. He was assassinated. And his son is now the leader of the new Northern Alliance. They're all geared up. They are ready to go in Panjshir. They've been waiting. He's been having some meetings. I've talked to sources on the ground. He went to Pakistan. He went to France. He went to a couple other places. People who are saying, look, let's try and figure out how to do a co-share of the government. Taliban gets part, you know, the Tajiks and other people get part. And they don't want to do that because, of course, no one wants to coexist with the Taliban. They're horrible people, along with several other warlords, and saying, no, this isn't going to happen. We are going to push back. This is going to be our Afghanistan. So it's going to get very, very interesting in the coming days and weeks.